Oh, Missy, you're still fine, you've already blown my mind, so let's just get on with this. Hello and welcome back to Madman with a Box. I'm one of the Madmen, Chris, here to talk about Missy Series 2, which came out on the 8th of July 2022, starring Michelle Gomez as the titular Missy. So, let's just get on with it with the best story, well, one of the best stories in this anthology. The Lumiat by Lisa McMullen. So Missy, she's out to cause chaos, as Missy does, but someone is in her way. A certain Time Lord. Time Lady, because these two people are very old-fashioned, who she thinks is a future incarnation of the Doctor. Well, we do have a female Doctor, but it is not the Doctor. It's someone with a more personal history with Missy, compared to the Doctor, who has also a personal history with the Doctor, but it's more of a much deeper connection. So this story is probably the most important Missy story, because it explains how there can be incarnations of the Master after Missy. Because if you remember, in The Doctor Falls, the penultimate episode, last episode of the 12th Doctor, before the Christmas special, Missy decides, I want to be a good person, I'm going to help the Doctor, and the Harold Saxon Master isn't a bit too happy about that, going against everything they've done throughout their life. Not be the Doctor's friend, not be their ally, not be a good person. Missy's deciding to be everything else, be a good person, so she is perma-killed by the Harold Saxon Master. No more regenerations. That's until we reintroduced to the Master, the Spy Master, in the second of Jodie's seasons, the two-parter Spyfall. We don't get an explanation. Now, from the Doctor's point of view, she's not going to know that Missy was permanently killed. It's just, okay, Missy is just regenerated, but now she's just back to... she's more evil than before. If I remember correctly, the 12th Doctor didn't even know if Missy decided just to go back to him to help, because, she died. So, from the Doctor's point of view, it's just, the Master just regenerated again. Us as fans, us as viewers, who have seen the last of the 12th Doctor series, and then also continuing on through Jodie's, we know there can't be a Master after Missy. Now, this is where the Lumiat fixes that kind of plot hole, that continuity error. I will have to spoil it. Probably I've spoiled it already, but I will have to spoil it to talk about it. The Lumiat is the Master. The Lumiat is the incarnation directly after Missy. She used some forbidden Time Lord technique. There's always so many different forbidden Time Lord techniques. It's like, oh no, we've got this regeneration limit, we can give you more, or we can just resurrect you from the dead, or you can use this forbidden technique. There is no concept of death, so it's always dumb when it's like, oh no, you're going to die for real this time. It's like, no they're not. But the dying Missy in Doctor Falls used this technique to essentially restart a new regeneration cycle and try and get rid of all the bad and just be a pure good person, which is the Lumiat. I enjoyed this episode. That being one of the main reasons we get the explanation of how there can be more Masters after Missy, so thank you. I don't like the fact that it's essentially expanded material. You shouldn't have to do extra homework to understand something. It's kind of like with Halo 5 Guardians. It's just like, oh, I have no idea what's going on. Oh, you have no idea what's going on? Read this book, read this comic, listen to this audio series. You have to do all this extra homework just to understand who these characters are, what is going on in the plot. It should be explained in the actual thing itself. I shouldn't have to do the extra homework. That's the unfortunate thing about this story, is that it is so important to the Master, you have to listen to it. So if you're going through the entirety of like Doctor Who, you're not going to have this like huge glaring plot hole between Missy and Spy Master. Regardless of that, I really enjoyed this story. I just like when Missy interacts with other Time Lords, even if this one is just essentially herself, just a good version of herself, or kind of like the opposite Valiard that the Lumiat uses. She says, "Oh, you know, like the Valiard is like, I'm kind of like that, except I'm good, not all the bad parts of you." I did like that. I did like the Lumiat, although I feel like they tried a bit too hard. I don't know if it was who portrays the Lumiat, Gina McKee, I believe it is. Let me have a look. See, yeah, Gina McKee. Yeah, Gina McKee, who portrays the Lumiat. I think they really tried to go too much into the whole goody two shoes. I'm the pure good master. Because there's one scene when Missy kills someone and she goes into like, "Oh, we're here to celebrate the life of this poor person taken away from us." I think it was a bit over the top. I don't know if that was just either the writing, the direction, or Gina herself. I just felt like it was a bit too much. It's like, we get the idea. She is a good version of the Master. I don't think you really need to hammer it in too much. But regardless, I really liked this story. It was very engaging. 8 out of 10. Probably my favorite. Close tie with another story. Now moving on to the first of 2 sequel stories. Yeah, we're getting some follow-ups from the previous series.
Offensive pockets. Most interesting.
Brimstone and Terror by Roy Gill. Missy wants an army, and where better else to get an army than to, take a teaching post at a Scottish boarding school. That's the best place to get an army. She wants a brigade of willing youngsters, one of which is Oliver. Don't remember who Oliver was? Well, back in Series 1, the first story, A Spoonful of Mayhem, Missy was forced to take the role of a governess to 2 children, Oliver and Lucy. It's the same Oliver. He knows who Missy is. Missy knows who Oliver is. He can't do anything about what she's really planning. He knows there's something wrong going on, but he can't do anything on the threat of death. He can't warn his family, especially his sister, because Missy looks through every one of his letters to make sure he's not blabbing. But this doesn't stop Lucy, who is able to put the pieces together, and she brings along help in the form of Mr. Potato Head himself, Strax. I thought this story was okay. I didn't particularly care for A Spoonful of Mayhem, the previous one, the lead up to this one, episode 1 of this of series 1. This one I thought was okay. It was an okay story. I felt like I kind of had that feeling knowing that this was a sequel to A Spoonful of Mayhem, because I didn't particularly like that story either. It was okay. It was just a really weak start to Missy's series, and this one was also okay. I do like the addition of Strax. I like kind of Strax's dynamic, just a Sontaran out of place, a Sontaran not in war, but everything about him it's kind of tied to that the warmongering of like the Sontaran. So I did like Strax in this story. So I would give it a 6.5 out of 10. So now we're on to every time traveler's favorite destination. No, it's not the Titanic. No, it's not the creation of, of Earth. It's something to do with, some, ties to a anonymous mask.
Oh, I do love an attractive seat. Yes, I do.
It looks like we're revisiting the Gunpowder Plot after, I don't know, how many times has this happened? I know there was a video game. There was a video game of the Gunpowder Plot, which featured the return of the Rootons, the sworn enemies of the Centaurans. But this one, Missy is deciding, well, I'm going to just change the gunpowder plot so that it actually succeeds this time. I'm going to give them some very special dynamite. But at the same time, a rookie time agent, Rita Cooper, is also there, making sure that history stays on track. And she finds herself having to deal with Missy's mess. Much like the previous episode, story, this was okay. I thought it was an okay story. Yeah, I was intrigued enough with it. I just didn't think it was as good as the starter of this series, and also the next one coming up. It was fine. I felt like looking through it now, maybe you could have kept. You can kind of keep Brimstone of Terror, and it had its moments, especially with some characters. I feel like Treason and Plot by Gemma Arrowsmith. I felt like this should have been on the cutting board. It didn't really need to be there. I think it's just only the end. The end leads into the next story, but I feel like you could have just splashed that. You could have just incorporated that end into Brimstone of Terror, considering what happens at the end of that one. So it was an okay story. It just kind of felt weirdly out of place. It just really didn't need to be there. There should have just been 3 stories in this anthology instead of 4, because I know the next series does. The next series decides to have three stories instead, which I think is a nice. It's a nice amount, because I feel like sometimes with 4, unless they're really solid, there didn't need to be 4 stories. I think 3 is a safe bet. So 6.5 out of 5 for Treason and Plot. And now we come to our finale. We're at the end of Series 2. Who else is Missy gonna encounter this time? She's been reunited with the children that she looked after. She's met a time agent. She's met a future good version of herself. Who else is Missy going to encounter? Well, a certain meddler.
I am not the monk!
Too Many Masters by John Dorney. So, the monk has got his revenge. He's captured Missy due to the events of Divorce, Beheaded, Regenerated. This is the second sequel. I wouldn't say it's a kind of a direct sequel, unlike Brimstone and Terror. It's just the monk's there to get his revenge. So Missy kind of tongue in cheek says, "Oh, it's a sequel." So it's kind of a sequel. But anyway, the monk has captured Missy. Problem is, they've also been captured. They've been captured by the Ogrons. They're here to collect the debt that a previous incarnation of Missy, of the Master, has forgot to pay. But the problem is, the Ogrons don't know who is who. They don't believe that Missy is the Master, despite the monk telling them so. They believe the monk is the Master, given the fact that they've only seen male incarnations of the Master. They don't know that Time Lords can change gender whenever. It's a gamble. And also by a certain line the monk says, he was stupid enough to say, "I am the Master." So, looks like old meddler there is on the chopping block to the Ogron's crab god. Yes, he is prepared to be sacrificed to a crab god. I enjoyed this episode. This would be the close second favourite of this series. I really enjoyed the dynamic between the monk and Missy in the previous series, in Divorce, Beheaded, Regenerated. So, knowing that they were going to be together again in this story, I knew I was going to enjoy it. Definitely did not fail on that. It definitely delivered on that. I really like their dynamic, the kind of a weird kind of a couple, which is funny because they were almost married in Divorce, Beheaded, Regenerated, to keep up the ruse that he's King Henry and he's looking for a wife. So I like the bickering, I like the bantering between the two. It's also nice to see kind of the Ogrons return. I think they return in a 8th Doctor story or something. It was like a Time War story. I don't know. it's nice that a lot more like kind of classic monsters are coming back as well. I will say the voices got really annoying because they're supposed to be like kind of like cavemenish, like ape aliens. So they have the really dumb voice, and you are master, cause master male. I get stick, I hit stick on head, you die. Like that kind of voice. It got really annoying in a lot of parts when it just kept on hearing it. It's like, oh, can you please shut up? I'm not overly familiar with the Ogrons. I haven't watched a lot of classic Who. I'm hoping that's not what they always sound like. I know they're not in a lot of classic Who, but I know I just found their voice. It just got really annoying. It's like I get it because they're supposed to be, like I said, like ape-like, cavemenish, looking type aliens. It just got really annoying as it just kept going on. It's like kind of one of those creatures where just don't give them lines. Just let them just do things, not say things. But regardless, I really enjoyed this story. I really liked it a lot. I would give it a 8 out of 10. So that is it for my talk, my review, my whatever of Missy Series 2. Thank you all for watching. Make sure to check out any of my previous reviews. Check out any of the other videos I did with my fellow madmen. I've been Oz Chris. I'll see you all in the next one.